Thank you. Now I have the honor of introducing teacher, author, and LGBTQ plus activist Chasten.
Hello, Traverse City. It is so good to see you. And Lindsay, thank you so much for all of your hard work on the ground and for sharing your story. We all have a story. That's why we're all in this room today. We all have a why. But before I jump into my remarks, can we all just take a deep breath? It's a lot, right? It's a lot. I was sitting up with my husband last night, sitting on the couch, and it felt like it's madness, right? And then you catch yourself in these conversations where you're like, this is all we talk about. It's just politics. And it's just politics, and politics is punching you in the face day after day. And it's so dark and divisive. And the other side, you saw his rally at Madison Square Garden yesterday. It was like it's designed to make you sick. It's designed to make you look over there so you're not paying attention to the real work that's happening in the Harris-Walz campaign. They want you to look over there at the racism, so we're not talking about how Kamala's showing up for everyday people and families like the families here in northern Michigan. So just take a moment and look around the room, take a deep breath, and recognize that these are not strangers. These are your neighbors. These are your friends. These are people who showed up to fight for you. And I don't know about, I already told you, I'm exhausted. And I'm sure you feel the same way. And sometimes if you're doom scrolling on Twitter or Facebook, or you're reading the news and it feels so dark and scary and you want to throw your hands up and say, enough, recognize that you are not alone. That the people in this room are here to fight for you and to fight for your kids and to fight for your rights. You are not alone in this fight, no matter how lonely it can feel. It fills me with hope. That's why I keep traveling the country. It's why last week I was in the UP. I am so happy to be surrounded by people who are doing the work. So remember that the next 7 days, we do the work. They want to distract you. They want you talking about the wild, obnoxious, racist, homophobic, bigoted thing that was said at the rally. So you're spending all of your time talking about them. And in the next 7 days, we need to be talking about you. And Kamala and Tim have shown time and time again that they are out there doing the work for you. And we're doing it together. And doesn't it feel good to do it together? To work with your neighbors. Because time and time again, Democrats are beating them on the issues, beating them on the message, and I think we're winning on fun as well. We all come to this room with a why. I never thought I'd be standing at a podium in Traverse City, Michigan, talking about how I was chatting with my husband last night after we put the kids to bed. That world didn't seem possible when I was growing up here. I was a 4-H kid growing up in Grawn, if you can believe it. I got the pictures to prove it. I was deep in the closet. I thought there would never be a place for me in northern Michigan. There would never be a place for me in America. Because in America at that time, people were ripping off the We Are Traverse City bumper stickers off city buses and cop cars because they were so homophobic. The government was firing people if you were gay. You couldn't serve in the military, and you were the butt of every joke. Exactly, boo. What's up with that? I keep thinking about politics in that arc of justice and progress. I never thought I'd be standing on a stage like this one day. But Democrats did that. Democrats did that. Progress did that. Activism did that. Advocacy did that. People laced up their shoes and they marched to the ballot box, and we elected people to go to Washington and Lansing who fought for us. And now I'm here, sort of sick of doing all the laundry because my husband's on the road all the time. Now I get to complain about my husband, which is really cool. Dreams do come true. But when you are sitting up at night and you're thinking about your kids, I know there are a lot of parents in this room. That's all I think about. Who's showing up for my kids? So I get to be here. That's a dream come true for me. And And I think of progress and I think of activism and I think of allyship not as reaching the top of the ladder and achieving your American dream and walking away from it, but turning back around and reaching out a hand and pulling somebody else up, because you need to recognize that there are still queer kids growing up in northern Michigan who might not know that there's a place for them here. There's one clear candidate who supports LGBTQ rights in this race. But there's also one clear candidate who supports families and parents, who supports paid parental leave, who supports LGBTQ adoption, who believes that gun violence is a real epidemic in this country, who recognizes the severity of that issue, who recognizes that the #1 cause of death amongst young people in this country is guns. And I felt that deeply when I was teaching middle school. When after our morning meeting, I'd send kids to math and to science, and I, as a member of the school safety committee, would walk the perimeter of the school and check every exterior door to make sure that it was locked. That was my job as a teacher in the United States of America. That's not right. And there's only one candidate who takes that seriously. So in the next 7 days, I hope that you will think about your why. And I hope you will tell it over and over and over and over again. Because as the field organizers are going to tell you, it's not going to be the Zinger tweet. It's not going to be the Washington Post article. It's not going to be some mailer or billboard. And I'm sure you've got mailers filling up your recycling bin like I do. It's not going to be the mailer. It's going to be you. It's going to be you finding the courage to look your friend or your family member in the eye and say, this is what's at stake in my life. And it's real. Politics is real. At its core, politics is deeply personal. And my mom is here, and I love you very much, Mom. But we didn't talk about politics much growing up. And I'm sure for many of you, families in northern Michigan, we just don't talk about politics, right? You don't want to ruffle any feathers. You don't want to ruin a good Thanksgiving dinner. Well, right now you got to ruffle some damn feathers, okay? You got to find the courage to look people in the eye and tell them your why. Tell them, like I do, what it was like to watch my mom pre-ACA send her chemotherapy treatments back through the Walgreens tube in the drive-in because she couldn't afford it, because she wanted to put money on the table and send her kid to school with lunch money. Democrats did that. Democrats got it done, and Kamala and Tim want to save and expand the ACA, which is saving lives, saving many mothers' lives. If you're grateful for your asthma medication, if you're grateful for your diabetes medication, you can thank a Democrat for getting that done. If you are living your version of the American dream, proud to be who you are, proud to wear that ring, proud to walk down the sidewalk in a country where you feel like you finally belong, tell your why. Tell people. So if you want to post something on social media, I hope you'll find the courage to post your why. Don't just say I'm voting for Kamala and Tim. Tell them why. Tell them what it's like to teach in a classroom in America fearful for your students. Tell them what it's like to go to the pharmacy and be fearful that you won't be able to afford the prescription drugs that save your life. Tell them what it's like to hold your kids in an ICU, connected to a breathing machine, like Pete and I did. Grateful for good health care. You know what Donald Trump's healthcare plan is? A concept of a plan. Donald Trump has been running for president for 10 years, and he still doesn't have a plan. And if you're a mom trying to afford chemotherapy and put food on the table, if you're a parent holding your kid in the ICU, if you're a kid with asthma or an aunt with diabetes, you deserve a hell of a lot more than a concept of a plan. Democrats are by your side. Democrats are getting it done. And when we send Kamala to the White House, we know we will have a champion for our families, for our moms, for our kids, for our teachers, for our communities. Someone who actually shows up and thinks about our families. So I urge you in the next 7 days to keep telling your why. It is personal. It is vulnerable. There is great power in your vulnerability. So embrace it. Look your neighbor in the eye, look your family member in the eye, and tell your why. Ignore the bait. They're baiting you right now. They want you talking about the most obnoxious things in the world, so you're not out there knocking on doors, talking to your neighbors about how Democrats are showing up for you time and time again. So, who's going to knock on doors this week? Me. Who's going to tell your why this week? And who's going to be celebrating with us in a week when we send Kamala Harris to the White House? Thank you for embracing that power in your vulnerability. Thank you for telling your story. Thank you for celebrating with us, and thank you for fighting for our families and for our kids. Thank you so much. I know Flotus is going to be here in a couple minutes, so until then, meet your neighbors, find a buddy to knock on doors with, keep telling your stories, and we'll celebrate soon. Thank you very much.